Welcome to the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm your host, Mel, and together we'll be chatting with everyday people living extraordinary lives. So they've learned how to activate their potential and are helping to illuminate others. So I hope you will join me in listening to their journey. And if you like what you hear, and I think you will, I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. The world could use a lot more activation and illumination. Have a great day. Today, I got to have the honor to speak with Jeff Frank, who is currently ranked as one of the top athletes in his sport. And today, Jeff and I chatted a little bit about mindset and how transformation began with a mindset shift. Now, I'm telling you, this is a dramatic transformation. He went from being just an average guy with not in the physique of that he is now, and certainly not what anyone would consider a top-ranked athlete, to completely transforming himself, starting with mindset. So we talk about him overcoming his fear, how it's imperative for personal growth, how confidence comes from consistent dedication and effort, how taking the hard path leads to often a simpler, easier life, and how just showing up can absolutely change everything. So come and check it out. Come listen to us. You will enjoy Jeff Frank. We are sitting here at the end of the last day of the year on 2024. I know we had invited you on to the Activation and Illumination podcast because honestly, Jeff, I don't know of anybody that has completely transformed themselves or their life in a way that you have. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that you've done and accomplished. And most of all, I think what impresses me the most, honestly, about you, Jeff, is your mindset and some of the things that you have overcome. And like, I'll just tell it to you straight. I mean, we could still call you a regular guy, but I mean, essentially, a few years ago, you were a regular guy doing regular things, and you've really upped the ante in the last few years. And I heard Mel Robbins say, you know what? Some people just get on the court and play, and some people sit and talk about them in the stands. And I believe, sir, that you are on the court playing. So tell us a little bit about what you have, tell us the Jeff Frank story, where you came from, how you started, and what you've been able to accomplish in the last few years. And we'll go from there.
Going back 2 years ago, it's almost 2 years to the day, actually. I was downtown Vancouver. I mean, I'll just back it up a little bit. I've always been a fan of martial arts, mixed martial arts in particular, and it's always been in the back of my mind. It's something that I'd wanted to try and do. And one day I was downtown Vancouver and walking along the sidewalk in downtown Chinatown, and seeing actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. I was in Chilliwack, and I was thinking about joining martial arts, and there was a couple local martial arts studios in Chilliwack, and I was invited down to come have a look. And so I went into Excel Martial Arts and had a look around. And I wasn't, when I looked around, it wasn't really what I was after. It was more, the vibe I got was, it was more situated towards just workout programs, not maybe dedicated towards actual training to fight. And I had it in my mind that that's what I wanted to do. So with that being said, I moved on. I told them I wasn't interested. And yeah, one day, it was actually a few days later, I was downtown Vancouver in Chinatown, and I walked up and I was walking down the street with my kids and came across Diaz Combat Sports. I had no idea it was there. And I went in there and I met the owner, Ryan Diaz, and right away you could tell the vibe of the gym was truly geared and formatted towards fighters. You could feel there was a training program going. I think it was a Muay Thai class at the time, and you could just feel the vibe of the people, the classes, the trainers. And I watched for a while, and he's like, oh, you can sign up. And I was like, well, I'm going to ask you a question. Like, at my age, what is this? What is the likelihood of me actually participating in fighting? He says, oh, you can do whatever you want, whatever you put your mind to, you can do. And I said, I like it. And I ended up signing up, and it was a a week later that I met, from Belgium, I met Christophe Van Dyke, who was a 2008 Olympian in judo. He's a judokan. And he had just moved there, and he was the head MMA trainer, and actually, a guy now that I really, really look up to. He's been a mentor in my life and completely changed everything about me. And I am actually indebted to that guy. I feel I owe him the world. But so I met him, and he invited me out to a few of his classes, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
So but that was just you getting into this last few years of your life.
Yes.
Prior to that, when did you decide to embark on your arm wrestling journey?
So that was 4 years prior to that. So we're looking at 2022. So around 2018, I think it was when I got into arm wrestling, and I joined a local. Actually, no, I was in Grand Prairie, and I looked up a local arm wrestling club, and they're actually practicing that night. So I went down to that training studio for arm wrestling, and actually joined arm wrestling in Grand Prairie. Ended up moving back to Red Deer and joined a club in Red Deer, and I fell in love with arm wrestling at the time and did that for 4 years. And the thing about arm wrestling was I never felt, and it probably isn't that it was fun to do, but it didn't fulfill me because it wasn't, the legitimacy of it wasn't there, if that makes sense. It was fun, but you go to tournaments and you compete, and I just never felt, it wasn't fulfilling to me because I didn't feel arm wrestling wasn't progressing that everybody had talked about, and the legitimacy of the sport wasn't fulfilling for me personally. So yeah, so I did that for 4 years, really enjoyed it, met tons of great people, and and then, in 2022, January 2022, 2023, I joined, got into martial arts, and went from there.
So here you are how old are you, Jeff?
46.
So you're 46 now. So a few years ago, you decided to get into martial arts.
Yes.
Tell us what you have accomplished since then.
So originally, I just went there just to gain experience. So I joined, I think it was a kickboxing class, went to a boxing class, did a couple of jiu-jitsu classes, and when it was about a week after, Christoph came up to me, he says, "Man," he says, your dedication and your work ethic is really infectious. And he said, "I'd like to work with you personally." So we did some one-on-one stuff, and I told him what my goals were, and he let me know his expectations. And it's hard to explain his mindset and his work ethic unless you see it for yourself. But he told me his expectations, and he said, if you continue this, I would like to invite you onto the pro MMA team, even though, as an amateur, but, it's a pro MMA team, but I'd like to invite you. You could come work with the guys, because it's an invite-only class. So I said, "Oh man, that's incredible." So I ended up going there. My first class was a wrestling class, and I made it, I think, 45 minutes into an hour and a half class, and I friggin' died. It was, I was puking on the floor. It was so insane, the work ethic that team was doing. And I honestly I made it about three quarters, not even halfway through. And I ended up saying, "That's enough." And I went home and was like, there's no way I can do this. I'm too old. I can't keep up. And I remember Christoph texted me the next day. He says, "Man," he says, "man, you did awesome." He said, that's what happens. I mean, for your first class, this is high intensity training. It's extremely difficult, but he says, just always remember, just show up. Come to the next class, just show up. That's all. He told me that for a week straight. Just show up to the class. Doesn't matter what it is, just show up. So I went again, and and did better, and went again and did better, and went again and did better. And I was actually, I was pretty decent at it. And so I kept working hard, and then he invited me to represent the MMA team in a jiu-jitsu competition in Washington State. So I went down there. I can't remember now. I think that was my first few months of doing it. Went down to Washington State and representing the heavyweight division of the team, and placing second at Washington State. And to me, that was really uplifting. I really enjoyed that. And so from there, I just continued pushing with the MMA team, working with Christoph one-on-one. And, more as we kind of got into it more, it's still my vision to fight MMA, but I really fell in love with jiu-jitsu and grappling. So I've been focusing really, really hard on that. So from there, I met Christoph's professor, who is Juan Canario. He's a UFC veteran. He's one of the most sought after trainers, maybe in the world in jiu-jitsu. Trained out of Atlanta, and had a conference call with him to be accepted into the IBJJF, which is the pinnacle of grappling. And so he said, yeah, I've talked to Christoph. He said, everything I've heard. He said, I'd love to represent you, or for me to represent him and have you on my team. So he signed me up for the IBJJF, and went to my first tournament in San Jose, and actually won gold. So that was pretty cool. And then I can't remember. I think I went to the American Nationals next and competed there, and I had won. Actually, got silver. I lost in the gold medal match. I competed again, got another silver. I competed again, and I think I got another second place. And in the meantime, I'm competing in a bunch of local tournaments as well, which I did really good at. And I looked at some standings, and I got some emails that I was moving up in the rankings, and it continued on, and I went down to California. I won gold at an IBJF tournament there, and I just went there, was doing really well, and ended up getting a top 5 world ranking, and that's kind of where we're at now.
That's amazing, Jeff.
So,
like, first of all, did you have, when you said your dream to fight MMA, how long have you had this vision in your head
I think
of you as a fighter?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do, but I think logistically and geographically, where I was before in Alberta, there wasn't, being around Red Deer, there wasn't very many gyms that, actually I was in Innisfail at the time, and there wasn't the gyms that was made sense to go to, and it was something I always wanted to do. And I think just by luck, I happened to come across DCS when I was in Vancouver, because I might have not, if I didn't come across that gym, I don't know if I'd be doing it today. I just kind of stumbled across it and went in there, and the rest was history. So I think I've always enjoyed mixed martial arts. I've always liked it. So I think in my head, it's been there for as far back as I can remember, watching UFC. Oh man, going back honestly, back to the UFC 1. So, I always thought it was pretty cool. I always loved it. It was always entertaining. And so I think it was always in my head, it just never transpired until I came to Vancouver 4 years ago. So.
Well, so just to be transparent, you and I have known each other for quite a while.
Yes.
And you have completely transformed your body. Like, I know there was a time that you struggled walking up our front walkway, right?
100%.
And you have been so inspiring to me. From in a personal note, I feel like I, over the last many years, let myself get to a spot that I wasn't real proud of. And about a year ago, I decided, okay, you know what? You had been at our house visiting, and I thought, you know what? If Jeff can transform himself into a freaking MMA, or into this fight world, I can get myself to the gym.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head earlier. It is a mindset, but it's a mindset that I don't think I ever had until I met Christoph. And when I met Christoph, he helped me transform my mindset. And to me, that was key to anything. Like, I always went to the gym, but I didn't understand the complexity of what it meant to be, I guess. So it's hard to explain, but one of the key functions of what I learned was, it might sound cliche and corny, but it's the truth. And one is freeing your mindset, and 2 is don't be so emotional. It's the 2 things that he taught me, and I never understood it until I met him. And what I mean by that is, like, freeing your mindset is, for me personally, where I'm at in my life right now is really helping me. I honestly, I have no stress. I am stress-free. And I learned that from Christoph, and it was not to dwell on the things that you can't control. And it was one of the biggest things that I learned from him. And, I'm just going to use some examples that I can think of off the top of my head. You see so many people putting so much effort into things that are completely out of control. Whether it's, you see people posting so much about whether people are still wearing masks, or who's vaccinated or not vaccinated, or who's running our country. And, I know some of these are important issues, but there's things we cannot control. We can go out and we can place our vote, but at the end of the day, we don't control what happens. So I see a lot of people putting so much effort, so much stress on dwelling on things that you can't control. It's one of the biggest things that I learned, was not to dwell on things that I have no control over. And when I learned how to do that, and I had to learn how to do it, it's easy to say it, but when I learned it, I can't believe how free my mind became of the everyday stress, whether it's work related, your family life, or whatever. I am in such a good place mentally that has helped me focus on who I wanted to become, because at the end of the day, the greatest project you'll work on is yourself. And when I learned that and that my mindset changed, don't get emotional about things, I can't begin to explain how well that's helped me transform and be focused on being the best version of me, if that makes sense.
Percent. And I can't help but think, you said something earlier, you said luck brought you to that gym. I actually don't think it was luck. I think it was destiny. I think you were walking into a version of your destiny that was possible for you, and you just stepped into and made it happen. Because what you talk about, you've had this vision for a long time. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that word destiny for sure. It's kind of felt that way and when you say it like that, yeah, absolutely. There's one thing running into the gym, but it was another thing meeting Christoph. It was another thing meeting my strength and conditioning coach, Natalie. It's really, odd how all these things kind of just fell into place and at the same time. And, maybe it was destiny. But, for me, I've learned so much from that, from walking into that gym. That's really been life altering for me, and it's put me in such a good place mentally, physically. And at 46, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a Ferrari, and I love that feeling. And I feel that way mentally, I feel that way physically, I feel that way emotionally. I can control things in my life way more clear, way more better, and way more efficiently. And it's just a really good feeling. And I think the destiny, finding that gym is been, I don't want to say life saving, but life altering for sure.
Yeah, so to the guy that's, I feel like there's so much pressure and so much stress on guys. I think there is on women too, but I really feel like there's so much of our world that just, it's a hard machine to live up to.
Yeah.
And so to the guy out there that is just like, trying and trying and trying, what would you say to kind of relieve some of that mental chatter and mental stuff that we put on ourselves that helps you step into that freeing of your mindset?
For me, I just think, really focusing on yourself and not dwelling on the things you can't control. It's learning how to make your mind think, like, like these little things that are just, why stress about something you can't control? You just, every day you got to roll with the punches, roll what's in front of you, roll with what you're given, and execute your daily duties and your responsibilities accordingly. Like, I look at it as far as work. I know there's going to be problems at work. I know we're going to have problems, but or we're going to have, things that are messed up. We're going to have good times, bad times, and you just roll with it every day. I don't stress about it. I just, what comes at me during the day, I roll with it as I can, and I don't take it home. I don't take it to the gym. It's work, and that's how I control my mindset, and that's what I would recommend to anybody. It's just, you just roll with what you're given every single day. And it may sound cliche, but I can't express how well it's worked for me. And when your mind is free from stress, oh my God, does it feel good. And I look at, when you have a free mind. So I look at martial arts as a whole, as I'm going to use an analogy here, as your heart and your body. Martial arts is your heart. Then you have all these arteries that go to these pathways that help that heart pump. So whether it's diet, whether it's training, whether it's discipline, all these pathways. And when you're free of mind, I feel that I'm clear to process all of those things that I need to do to make that heart or that martial art pump better, if that makes sense. So whether it's eating clean, I get home, I have energy because I'm not stressed. I can prep my meals. I got energy to go to the gym and train because I'm not stressed. I'm not dwelling on things that, I've been able to function at home and be a better husband, be a better man, to make my house life more efficient. That allows me to train. My diet, what am I missing here? My training, because I can't begin to explain how hard the training is. There's a lot of times I dread going, but it's what I love to do, and I know what my end goal is. So I have to be there. And so all these things that has allowed my mind to be free, be stress-free, has helped me, evolve those pathways, which makes that heart pump better, and which is the martial arts. And I think that's why I've been able to perform so well.
Well, what scares you?
I'll be honest, like, the biggest thing that scared me was failing. And I remember going on the first time, failing at what I'm doing, failing at martial arts, failing at home. But I remember the first time I went on the mat, and I had my coach in my corner, and I was so nervous. I was dreading. I was like, oh, I don't want to let him down. I don't want to let him down. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, you know what, Jeff, you just go out there and do this for you. That's all. It was like the giant weight lifted off my shoulder, and I ended up going there and beat my first 3 guys. Ended up losing in the gold medal match in Washington. But when he said that to me, it was just amazing, the weight that's lifted off my shoulders. So I've always had this fear of failing him, failing at home. It's hard to explain where my mindset right now is that help that function so efficiently right now that I'm just in a really good place.
Yeah, I can see it on you.
You know.
Um,
So
yeah,
if that all makes sense.
that does make sense. What would you say that you're looking forward to about the vision of yourself that you can see in the future?
You know, honestly, like it's hard to think of yourself getting better and better when you're 46. But right now, I love how good I feel. I really think that in the next 5 years, I should back this up a bit. Part of that freeing that mindset and being successful in everything you do in your day, whether it's your job, whether it's the martial arts for me, whether it's my home life, has brought me so much confidence. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me is how it's not a cocky confidence, but I'm just confident. I walk around, I feel good. It's allowed me I love being nice to people, all that confidence and just interacting with people. When I'm at my job, when I'm dealing with customers, when I'm dealing with my wife, my kids, it's a good feeling. And I only feel going forward that it's going to get much better. I think 2025 is going to be a really good year. I'm going to Portugal here to compete first time in an IBJJF major tournament in 2 weeks, I guess now. I think from there, I'm just really excited to what these next 5 years is going to bring. And I just think, honestly, I'm going to continue to grow and feel better each and every year.
I think that's honestly, if you think about anybody, that's the goal, right? Isn't that the goal to do whatever it is in our life with as much confidence that we can feel 100%. Good in our house, feel good in our marriage, feel good in our, when you talked about the energy and the heart of martial arts, I attributed that to your life force energy.
Yes.
And your life force energy going out there and being fully present in everything that you do is and when you said the confidence, this is a totally different level, but do you know that for myself, just to get into the gym, it took me so much I seriously would have rather spoken in front of 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously would have.
Yeah.
And it was when you talked about going in and seeing that door. The same thing for me happened. And I mean, this is just a little small town gym. And this was just me getting my fat butt into the gym. This was nothing but I was getting my window changed in my car, my glass. And I walked past and that door was open. I didn't know at the time that there had been a septic, that they had it open because the inside smelled like a septic leak.
Oh, really?
And I promise you, I would never have walked into that gym had the door not been open. That's how scared I was. And I just felt yeah. So but even just walking in that first time, it gave me confidence to in other areas that what you're 100%. Talking about, it translates. It's oh, I can do something hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can if that's the hardest thing in your life is to walk into a gym, when you're feeling insecure in your body shape mm-hmm. and, where you've let yourself get to, mm-hmm. That for me was probably one of the things that I can pinpoint it and go, okay, from there on, I started making other hard decisions.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what I hear you talking about in your life is these other hard decisions. I mean, you're just upping the ante each time.
100%. I love what you say there because I truly believe if you always take the easy path in life, your life is going to be hard. If you take the challenging and hard ways in life, your life is going to be so much simpler. And it's easy to say, it's easy to talk about, and when you get to that point, like you said, you walk into that gym or you take that first class or you eat healthy for a week. I don't want to say healthy, you eat right for a week. It's all these things that are tough to do because you got to meal prep or you got to, maybe spend a little bit more money. When you do it and you're successful and you achieve the goal week by week or day by day, it's it's so motivating, and it just kind of, it honestly just snowballs.
Yeah, the Jeff I see here is the Jeff because
Pardon
you
me?
are making. The Jeff that I see here is a Jeff that trusts himself
Yes.
because you are making those
Yes.
hard decisions on the daily. You trust yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know you're going to do the right thing, the hard thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
100%. And, again, I owe that to my coach. And, when I did that first MMA, when I first joined the MMA team and I went to the wrestling class, I was just like, there's no way I can't do this. And he just phoned me up and he says, and I got all kinds of motivation. He texts me every day. Every day he'll send me a message of some sort of motivational quote or a thought, I love it. He's so invested in making sure that I'm the best version of me. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but it's so good to know, and it's so encouraging to have that kind of support. And I always tell people too now, like if you can find somebody to lean on, whether it's a friend or a family member or a coach or whatever, I think that's really key to helping people progress when they are afraid or they're scared of doing that thing that's hard, to have somebody to lean on and for support. And then for the average male, they may not want to do that because it's hard to reach out. But I'm telling you, it's when you have that confidence, all the other things seem so minor. And you see these guys trying to portray themselves as of this or that, and the drama people bring in their lives, it just bogs everything down. And when I feel that your mind is free and clear, it's yeah, I can't explain enough how much confidence that brings into your responsibilities. Or
What would you say is your biggest, I don't want to say mistake because I actually don't think there are mistakes, but biggest life lesson or biggest thing that at the time that you thought was a failure, or biggest thing that you were like, oh my gosh, so devastated by that you then realized was
oh boy, that's a tricky question. I might have to put some thought into that. Biggest thing I thought was a mistake that was not.
or that led you to where you are right now?
Yeah. I want to answer this one, right? Let me think about this for a bit. I'm going to come back to this question because I want to answer this one correct, because I think that's a really good question. And I want to think on it. I want to say the right thing because, there's mistakes that I've made, and, there's things that you questioned yourself on, but I think it's led to, I want to say maybe one thing is the amount of money, the amount of money that I spent to do martial arts, to have these high-end coaches where I really questions and I felt this is not right. This is too much money. This is not, yeah, honestly, that might be it actually. And I think the amount of money I was investing in the training was scary at the time for us. It was a lot of money, but where I look back now and the doors that's opened for me, it was absolutely 100% the right decision, because we are now way more financial. I mean, just being able to have the energy to do more. I have the energy to work two jobs. I don't need to work two jobs, but I do. I work security at a nightclub. I have the energy to do that, to help facilitate the financing. So I think that at the time when I was looking at that, I was like, oh my God, this is way too much money. This is not affordable. And having the support of my wife saying, you know what, no, we did this. We said we're going to do this. Let's just keep on going. And looking back now, I think, every dollar I spent was worth it. Maybe not even for what I've achieved, but more or less where we are mentally, honestly. I think we're just it's just a good feeling to be in a good place. And mentally, not financially, not physically, mentally, I love the mental freedom that we have right now. It feels really good. And it might
Well, and
sound cliche and corny, but it's 100% fact.
I actually think your mental state and the thoughts that you have in your head contribute to your financial state. And I feel like our thoughts can, create our entire existence. And so for you to actually step up and declare that you were important enough to be worthy of that level of training, what you've just done is said to her, listen, you're important enough to go for your dreams. You're important enough to have something big. Together, our future means something.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think that, absolutely. I think that at the time I thought this was a really big mistake, and I had the support, and looking back, it's really put us in a good place. So it was 100% worth it.
Well, Jeff, I feel like, honestly, like you are your mindset, 46 years old, going into, the fighting world, and having the mindset and the level of determination to change your body. Because let's face it, when we met you, you were not a fighter.
Nope. No.
You were not. You were not a fighter. You transformed yourself.
100%. I didn't know nothing about fighting.
No, no. And I just have to give my hats off to you in starting this podcast and in having some of the people on that I feel like have made the biggest mental hurdles and the biggest transformations. You're one of the first people that I thought of.
Oh, I appreciate that a lot, Mel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really are, because you're constantly striving. It's not to say that you don't make mistakes and that you haven't made mistakes, but you're constantly striving to be a better person, which is what I think we all can really learn from.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I am, and I think what's driving me to constantly it's helping me to be successful in martial arts, because I mean, ultimately, that is my goal. I 100% want to be a world champion, and I believe I'll get there. I do want to be the number one ranked guy. I got really close, and it's only going to get more difficult as I get promoted. But I just feel with that mindset, it's just you can honestly accomplish anything. And I know that just sounds so cliche, but I feel it. I love the feeling, and I love competing, and I put my heart and soul into it 3 to 4 hours every single day. And yeah, it's really good.
So would you recommend, what would you say to young kids that are wanting to get into the sport or wanting to?
Number one is listen to your coach. Always follow your coach. Be respectful, be on time, be well dressed. What am I forgetting here? Yeah, 100% always listen to your coach and stay true to your commitments. If you commit for a month, just show up. If it's hard, just show up. Because I can guarantee you're going to have a lot of days where you're going, why am I doing this? Even as a kid, we have a really good kids program at DCS, and I follow the kids all the time. I've trained a couple of their classes, and that's the mindset we install in them. It's just be on time, be respectful, don't quit, and stay true to your commitments.
You couldn't ask for a better life rules of life storybook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think staying true, even if your commitments are to yourself, if you're setting your own goals and you're setting your own commitments, if you say, what, I'm going to go try this, I'm going to try it for a month, even though it's hard, I think it's really important to prove to yourself that, not to quit. And it's one of the biggest things I think I learned too, is even when my coach said to me, he says, Jeff, I don't care. It's because when you go back to you asking me what I was afraid of, and I was afraid of losing. I didn't want to lose. I hate losing. And he said, you know what? I don't care if you lose. Just don't quit. I remember he says that. Don't quit. Just give it all you got. If you lose, you lose. We come back and we work harder, and we get back on the mats, and we keep training. You're going to lose. This is a sport we're not going to go undefeated in, and losses are going to come. But just don't quit. Show up every day. Stay true to your commitments. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, I got a text from my strength and conditioning coach who's it's kind of funny because I took 3 days off training over Christmas. I drove home. I was actually going to come out and visit you. Kind of got sick there. So I drove home. We had Christmas Day, and we actually drove back, so I wasn't feeling good. And my coach texted me yesterday morning. She says, what's this? You got 3 missed days. And I said, I know it was Christmas and I wasn't feeling well. She says, I don't give a shit. Holidays, good days, bad days. You show up and you do what you're supposed to do. And that's their mindset. And, and they lead by example. That's I really like that. So it's a little bit of a kick in the butt, stay true to your commitments, and yeah, everything else will fall into place.
Who's someone you admire?
Oh, 100% my coach, Christoph, man. I can't even, I could sit here and go on for an hour about that guy, what he's done for my life. Christoph Vandejek, he's like I said, he's a Belgian. He was in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. He's one of the most inspiring guys I have ever met in my life, hands down. I can't say enough. I could go on all day about that guy. So I honestly could. He's the confidence he's put in me, the belief he's put in me, the time and the effort he's put into me is just, it's mind blowing. I owe him the world.
Well, Jeff, anything else you want to tell us that you haven't shared?
What am I missing here? No, I'm just excited to get 2025 rolling. I got a lot of big plans. I'm planning on I'm going to Portugal here in 2 weeks to compete in my first major tournament in Europe. I plan on going to Brazil. I'm going to compete in all four majors this year, so I want to do Worlds, the Europeans, which I'm doing right away here, the Pan Ams, and the Brazilians. So I want to do a lot of traveling this year. I want to compete. I want to get that number one spot. I want to become a world champion, and I'm just, my whole life is revolved around right now my family and training. So it's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get there.
Well, Jeff, I honestly, you are just a gem of a guy that we truly love, both Shane and I, and I thank you for being such a great example,
Thanks,
because
man.
you truly are inspiring other people. And those, that credo that you just said of showing up and being on time and all that. I mean, we can just take that and apply it to absolutely
Everything
everything,
in your life. Yes,
everything.
yes,
And our entire lives would shift in a way
100%.
that just so much more alignment and so much more
Yeah.
freedom and so much more mindset clarity. So I'm going to leave it at that, my friend. And thank you for showing up. Thank you for inspiring and for sharing your story, because honestly, you don't see too many men at 46 making their big splash into the, I want to be a world champion. And you're doing it. So I
No,
applaud that.
yeah, and I would just say, if there's anybody out there, no matter what you want to do, what your dreams are, just go out there and do it. No excuses. Just show up. Just show up. No matter what you want to do, just do it. It's that simple. And one of the things I just wanted to say, there's a big difference between motivation and discipline, and you can't do anything without discipline. If you're not disciplined, you won't have motivation. And discipline is the number one thing that you just need to have. And it's not something you learn. You got to have it. And if you have discipline, I honestly, you'll achieve anything you put your mind to.
You can't see my arm, but I got like full body goosebumps as you said that, because that's so true.
Yep.
So true. You can want all the
You have
way
all the
to the.
motivation you want. If you're not disciplined, it'll just go down the toilet. Discipline is the biggest thing. And it doesn't matter if you're a weightlifter, cyclist, a skier, a hunter. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to achieve what you want.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
We
Mel.
will wrap it up there, and happy New Year's and the best. I know you've had the best of 24, but I really think that you can do everything that you are imagining for yourself in 25. And I wish you sincerely the best.
Well, thanks, Mel. I sincerely appreciate that. And likewise for you
Yeah.
guys. I hope you guys have a good New Year. And I'm looking forward to going to Portugal. I've never been to Europe, so it's going to be a good time.